Critics' Choice and say at Haytt Online News. Here I have Mr. Colin, who is the Master Blender for Chivas, here at the Whisky Live 2012 Singapore. Mr. Collins, could you reveal to us, the importance of leadership at Chivas?
Well, good afternoon, Robin, and it's a pleasure for me to be here in Singapore because it's nice and warm and not the horrible cold we have in Scotland. But Chivas Regal and Chivas Regal is a global icon, and it's one of the leading premium blended Scotch whiskies in the world. In some countries, it's the #1 blended Scotch in the world. In certain countries, but Chivas has a long heritage and a long history in not only as a company which goes back over, Chivas Brothers as a company goes back over 200 years, but also Chivas Regal was first introduced as a blended Scotch in 1909, and today is enjoyed by millions in over 150 countries around the world. And Chivas Regal is very much a global icon. It stands and it represents quality and a consistency of quality. So it has a status, a quality status that is well respected and well known right around the world. So Chivas is a leader in its own right, but also we have a campaign for Chivas for Live with Chivalry, which is all about respect and brotherhood and working as a team together to lead the world in not only Scotch whisky, but as people and consumers around the world, all together, one goal: to have happiness, to have pleasure, and to enjoy life.
And speaking about enjoying life with Chivas, what is the importance for Chivas to remain relevant of its brand? Because brands itself are important, but at the same time, every generation changes. How does Chivas view the relevance of trends?
Well, obviously the world today is a very fast changing world, and so we obviously want to bring Chivas Regal into the 21st century, and I think we have done that with our campaigns, but also little small adjustments to the presentation of the labeling and the bottle. But of course, behind that, although there may be very small changes, Chivas Regal remains the same. It maintains its heritage, it maintains its traditions. And I think that's very important because we are a very traditional industry, and Scotch whisky is just made from cereal, water and yeast, and you get a spectrum of flavors. We've got 90 distilleries, malt and grain, and from that each whisky produced has its own unique character and flavor. And then the blenders, we take those different whiskies, and by blending those flavors we create new and unique taste experience. And so Chivas Regal 12 has a totally different taste experience to 18 and 25. But as a family, they are a family that have great tradition, great heritage, are global icons around the world. And of course, their style is very appealing to everyone. And so it's not so much about trends. Trends can happen around Chivas, and Chivas will always maintain its unique icon status.
And also, there's one last question from one of our readers who wants to aspire to become a master blender like yourself. Probably to be found working at Chivas. What advice would you give? At least if you could give 3 points, a lifetime advice of how one can aspire to be a master blender.
Well, excuse me. Well, to be a master blender, for me to work for Chivas and Chivas Regal is an absolute honour, and it's been a lifetime pleasure. But first of all our work is done on nose, and you must have an above average sensitive nose. And to find out this, we of course, first thing that happens is your nose is tested, because there's no point going down a route of getting experience of over 8 to 10 years before you become a master blender without the attributes of a nose. And it's not a pass or fail from a point of view of a person, because God gave you, when you were born, you were given the gift of a good nose. Some people have no sense of smell, others have a very sensitive sense of smell. But to be a blender, you must have a great sense of smell and a good nose. Then, of course, experience, time, which I said mentioned 8 to 10 years. You've got to be prepared to learn all about those magical flavours that are Scotch, and also the maturation from the new spirit through the years, the 10s, the 15s, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. It's a magical trip. It's a magical, maturation is totally magical and it's totally natural. But I think most of all, apart from a very sensitive nose, it's very important to have a passion for Scotch whisky. Without that passion, without a good nose, I don't think you could become a master blender.
And speaking of being one of the best and the greatest master blenders like yourself, Mr. Colin, what is the philosophy of whiskey to you?
To be enjoyed. It's for pleasure, relaxation, friendship, and pleasure. And friends, friendship, respect, pleasure, enjoyment.
Well, thank you, Mr. Colin, here at the National Critics' Choice. Say hi.